back to quick concepts, and we are going to be working with rationalizing denominators today. I'll write that down, rationalizing denominators. So this is something you learned in Algebra 2, so it's just kind of a review. I just want to make sure you're comfortable with it. So we have two types of problems here. We have this one, and then we have this one. So the first thing we need to ask is, why is it irrational? So the reason that both of these problems are irrational is because they have a radical or an imaginary line on the bottom. So it has to you have to make sure that there's no square roots on the bottom or radicals on the bottom, as well as there's no i's on the bottom. So what we have to do is we have to multiply these guys by their conjugate in order to rationalize the problem. So we are introducing, actually it's not introducing, this is a review of the conjugate. What the conjugate is it's the opposite sign of the middle sign on the bottom. So we're looking at this sign, we're just going to change it. Everything else stays exactly the same. And then you just pretty much FOIL top and bottom, and it should get rid of the radical. If it doesn't, you did it wrong. So let's do some FOIL. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 4 times 3, radical 3 is 12, radical 3. Radical 3 times 2 is 2, radical 3. And then lastly, 3 radical 3 times radical 3 is 3 radical 9. On the bottom, we'd end up with 4 plus 6 radical 3 minus 6 radical 3 minus 9 radical 9. Now, what we want to do is simplify as much as we can. We're going to add the radicals in the middle. This is going to be 14 radical 3. Remember, the square root of 9 is 3, so I'm going to write that down. Now, notice what happens on the bottom. The radicals go away. So that tells me I'm on the right track. I'm doing it correctly. So this becomes 8 plus 14, radical 3 plus 9, 4 minus 27. I'm just going to add the 8 and 9 together. And then 4 minus 27 is negative 23. Never leave a negative on the bottom. Run it through the top. Just get the negative off the bottom. And that is it for that one. Now, obviously the I is going to be somewhat the same. But what I want to do with this one is I want to reduce these down a little bit first. Keep in mind that two i's together is going to give us a negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead and say 2. This would be two i's together. And then this is going to be two sets of two i's. And I like to group them like this, and that tells me what I can reduce down. Of course, nothing reduces on the bottom. This becomes 2 minus negative 1i plus 2 times negative 1 times negative 1i. So this becomes 2 plus I plus 2i over, don't forget the bottom guy. I'm going to add my i's together, and I'm going to get 2 plus 3i over negative 2i plus 4. Now, I hate to say this, but after all that work, we're not done yet, because now we have to rationalize it. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom. Again, I'm just changing the middle sign. So notice I just changed that sign. I didn't change the first sign, it's just that sign. And now again, it's going to be FOIL on top and bottom. So this becomes negative 4i minus 8 minus 6ii minus 12i over 4ii plus 8i minus 8i minus 16. Now, if this works out correctly, we should have no i's on the bottom. So this becomes negative 4i minus 8 minus 6 times negative 1 minus 12i over 4 times negative 1 minus 16. Negative 4 minus 12i is negative 16i minus 8 plus 6 over negative 4 minus 16. So this is going to be negative 2 minus 16i over negative 20. Now remember, again, you don't want to leave negatives on the bottom. And also we can reduce everything by 2. So this, I'm going to reduce everything by a negative 2. So this becomes a 1 plus 8I over 10. So I just reduced everything by a negative 2, and that's your final answer.